Week 6 of the Winter 18 season in Connecticut was eventful, to say the least. We're here to break it down on the Week 6 post-game show, and if Greg's face doesn't say everything you need to know about the historic Week 6 for many reasons, good, bad, ugly, 100-point wins, we're going to pretend that didn't happen. Week 6 post-game show, the crew, Stuckey, Greg, Mike, and Kendall. I'm Joey back hosting. We're going to forget the 100-point game that just happened. That's why I'm not as sweaty as I should be. Temptations Blue Devils, one of our closer games. This was a very loaded slate of games. I like that word. We don't get that a lot. We don't get a lot of weeks where there's a ton of games that we expect to all be interesting, close, and we had a lot of those this week. The finals rematch wasn't even the closest game of the week, and that score lied a little bit too. Temptations Blue Devils, 3-point game. The Blue Devils come out on top, even with Carmine back. So I think that's the first loss since Carmine has returned to the lineup. I know they beat the Rim Breakers last week, but I didn't see this one. What did Blue Devils do to take care of Carmine?
Honestly, I'm going to look at this differently.
Okay.
I have the Blue Devils 2 in my power rankings, which is higher than anyone. And I'm honestly was disappointed in them. Outside of Mike Davis, I love Markey. I saw him miss at least 3 routine dunks. They don't seem to really be engaged sometimes in the game. They seem to make really dumb errors, and they're easily one of the most talented teams in this league. It's not a debate. When you have Mike Davis on your team, you can win. It's proven and it's true. But I just want to see from the Blue Devils more consistency and a lot more focus late in games, because they could have beat the Temptations by 10 points. If they missed 3 dunks, I went up to Taylor in the middle of the game and I said, how many dunks they missed? He said 4. So they're a hell of a team, and they will stay 2 in my power rankings. But again, I just want to see them show me more consistency outside of Mike Davis. Because right now, it's Mike Davis or bust for them. And again, they're 2 in my power rankings. I believe in them, but I just want to see more from them.
To piggyback just a little bit, right?
No, seriously, I'm actually going to pose you a question. The Blue Devils have the pieces to be and close these games better, right? What do the Temptations have to do to bounce back from this game? Give me some Temptations take.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. I was going to give you the Temptations take anyway, because the Blue Devils, they came out and they played around too much, but we know what the Temptations have to do. Nothing at all that much different, because when you can keep up with a team like the Blue Devils the way they did, they don't have to do much different. So that's a good for them, and they can bounce back. Next game, it'll be easy.
Tyler Feldman behind the camera clutch. I'm sure you didn't even see it because Connor will cover that. Moose Throne, another great game, 10-point game. Team Moose comes out on top of that one. The Throne, Jason Hernandez, great again. What did Team Moose do? Obviously we know all the names, right? Kevin Blake, Brad Seaman, and they were without Rob Harrigan, I believe, who hurt himself last week, wasn't here this week. So how was Team Moose able to get the win?
So last week I was heartbroken for Team Moose when they lost to the Blue Devils. But when you play the Throne, you play Hernandez, you play the Jean-Baptiste brothers, they had to shut down that offense. We know Hernandez can shoot. Team Moose is probably one of the best defensive teams in the league. But on offense, they moved the ball around. They had great ball movement. They were getting the open shots. So shutting down the Throne offense and then having, their offense really spark up, that's how they beat the Throne.
I think they had the length to match the Throne, which is sometimes a lot of teams don't have just the length to match them on the defensive end. And then Moose executes every week, no matter who they're playing. So that takes care of the offense.
But some takeaways from the Throne in that game is they played a really, really good game. They started off very, very strong, and we don't usually see the Throne start off like that. I think they came down and hit 4 for 4 from the 3-point line. They missed the shot, and then they went 5 for 6 from the 3-point line to open up that game. So when you look at how they started this game on a very, very high note, and they just ended a little poorly because of, I think, lineup issues. I think once they get their killers and who they think can close out a game on the floor, like both Jean-Baptiste boys on the floor at the late games, they can win a lot of these games. So they did a lot of right things in this game today against a good Team Moose.
I always talk about it. We're going to get to the finals rematch next, and this is where it really comes in. A lot of teams have depth, some more than others. It's really about your best 4, because you can only play 4 at a time.
Right.
So, 5 minutes left, tied game, who's your 4? And that's something the Throne will have to figure out before the playoffs come. No Limit Monstars, speaking of deep, loaded teams, right? No Limit wins by 20 in the finals rematch from the summer. Well hyped, taken to social media as No Limit and the Monstars both do. But 20-point game. You guys were telling me that really doesn't tell the story of the game. It was closer than that. Give me the spiel. What happened in that game, and how did it get to 20?
Well, like most games get, right? One team just sees that, the Monstars saw that, well, it's not enough time left, and they kind of like said, we're going to save all our energy for next game, and they kind of took their own air out their sails to close that game. But what we notice about the Monstars is they're a different team. That No Limit team came out knowing that, and they were just so much more aggressive on top of the Monstars. And from the time of the opening tip, they just pushed down the floor. Because they know that the Monstars only have Pooch and Reggie right now.
No Corey too is big,
and no
right?
Corey is huge. So they know that the No Limit came out knowing that, and they just ran the entire game. But the Monstars did play a hell of a game all the way through. They just couldn't close it out, and then they tanked at the end. So.
For sure. Any other thoughts on that one?
Terrell Vargas. Again, last year Joe asked us who would be a franchise player. I picked him. That was the best game I've ever seen him play in Legacy Leagues. He was, when they were fighting down low, he was breaking it up. I've never seen him be a leader like that. And that was, again, I went over to Connor and I said, last year the Monstars, they never fought once on the bench. And this year, No Limit, I've never seen them argue. They seem so in control and in rhythm, and it's really scary for the league.
Happy teams, winning teams are good teams, right?
It's all good when you're winning,
Yep.
right? So it'll be interesting if and when they get in some adversity. I mean, obviously this was a game they knew was going to be a battle. Week 1 for No Limit against the Blue Devils. Against the Blue Devils.
Moose
they
next
knew,
week.
right, and they get Moose next week.
The toughest matchup, if they play them, is going to be Flint. I truly think Flint is going to be No Limit. Yeah.
Right.
They got the depth.
Size.
Yeah, size. I think that's going to be their hardest matchup to play this year.
I would use that as a transition to Flint, but we're saving that one for the end. Rim Breakers, Chasers, 4-point game. Chasers come out on top, both Washington brothers present and doing physical things on the court. So now the Rim Breakers have lost 2 in a row, right, to Carmine Temptations last week. And then this week, what did the Chasers do to hand them that second straight loss?
The Washington boys showed up to play. It's clear. When those two boys are here for that team, they win, they play well. But when they're not here or there's -1, you kind of see the imbalance on the team. So both Washington boys showed up, and they both played in the game, so that's why they won. Simple.
Yeah, they keep these guys fresh. They do full switches. And like you said, the Washington brothers showed up this week, and they're as quick as any team in the league. They could definitely outrun you whenever they feel like.
Give me something on the Rim Breakers, so obviously on the losing end, but did anything stand out about their performance tonight?
Well, hot start in the beginning of the season, but the Rim Breakers, they seem to be, I don't want to say falling apart, but, they're starting to slow down. A lot of hype coming in beginning of the 3 games. Now they're slowing down, like you said, lost 2 in a row. I still like them. They're still very fun to watch. I said that earlier. But I root for them. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, the Rim Breakers are definitely fun to watch.
Maybe coming back to the mean, and that's just what a season will do, whether it's 9, 10 games, 80 games, 30 games in college. You have those stretches where you're hot, cold, and that doesn't tell the whole story, and then you kind of find that spot in the middle. And I wouldn't want to play the Rim Breakers in round 2, just matchup-wise. I think they can give a lot of teams problems if they're shooting well. BSMB Shooters Shoot, 4-point game, another close one. The 2 winless teams coming in. Both were 0-5. BSMB gets their first win. So, guys, we're just seeing that one. Very eventful, to say the least. But seriously, how did BSMB get the win, their first win, we're in week 6?
Let me tell you. On that game, Shooters Shoot, they were not there mentally the entire game. Because Shooters Shoot came into this game, just let's look at the schedules a little bit, right? Shooters Shoot played the Blue Devils, and they kind of stayed in that game. So their whole mindset was we're a lot better than BSMB because of how we stand up against other opponents. And that's what ultimately lost in the game, because BSMB came in knowing that they were a winless team and they had so much to prove, and Shooters Shoot act like they had nothing to prove. So BSMB came out, they had something to prove, they hit shots, they stayed attentive the entire game, and they were talking to each other, there was no arguing, and they just ran, I've never seen this team play with this much energy because they wanted to prove that they could be have a win in this league.
A very underdog approach, kind of like the Eagles. Go ahead, just little jabs all year at Tyler. That's all. Go ahead.
Okay, so they sat their best 3 players to start the game, shoot or shoot. So when their best 3 players came in the game, they were already down 11-2. So they were playing catch up the whole game, and they never actually took the lead. At the end of the game, there's a lot of fouls, a lot of foul shootings, and they shoot or shoot did not hit their foul shots, and BSMB did.
And that'll be the difference. You know, a lot of times you gotta make the free ones. They're free.
Amen.
Gotta make them,
Amen.
right? I swear I'm saving the best for last. Goon in semi-pro, 86-32. Let's quickly go through this one. Unfortunately, so now semi-pro is one of 2 teams without a win. They do play each other, so we'll get there in the coming weeks and see if everyone can get themselves a win. But Goon Squad, I think this is kind of the story for them, right? They play and they beat the teams they're supposed to, and then it's like, oh, maybe Goon Squad can pull the upset this week, and they just lose by 10. You know, like they're in it, and then they just don't have enough down the stretch. What'd they do this week?
Yeah, they remind me of the Rim Breakers. I think they're both are kind of the same teams. They have a lot of talent. They're very efficient. They play good defense, but you know when they play teams like semi-pro or BSMB or shoot or shoot, they tend to blow the doors open. And then they play a team like Stranger Danger, or they'll play like Rim Breakers, and they just won't show that same energy or that same fight. And you know, I know how good Matt Marconi is from the game winners he's hit, from the overtime buzzer beaters he's hit. He's a great player, but you know, I don't know what it is with Goon. I mean, me and Connor talk about all the time on the podcast. They're talented enough to have at least 4 or 5 or 6 wins, but they don't seem like they're on that path. So it was good to see them get a win, but I want to see a lot more from them going forward.
Very similar to the Rim Breakers, and that's not a team you want to see in round 2 in like the 1-8, you know, that'd be 2-7. You know, teams coming off a bye, the top 2 get a bye, and then you're like, oh, let's play Goon Squad, who's done this before, you know, made deep playoff runs. The last one.
Hold on, before we go, because I criticized Matt Marconi so heavily
we
last week.
We are getting to Stucky time next.
I criticized Matt Marconi so much last week, so it was good to see that he spread the ball around a little bit. He shared the sugar a little bit, and his teammates were able to get in on the action. So.
Yeah, but one of the many Stuckyisms. Share the sugar.
Share the sugar, baby.
Maybe he was listening. Who knows? Maybe he heard you.
Maybe.
You know, that guy Stucky's a philosophizer. Stranger Danger and Flint. We can go like one word each if you want. No, Flint Tropics 150-50. Didn't let up. I don't even know if that's the most points scored. I don't think it is, because the Brotherhood had something to say about that as far as most points in a game. Yeah, I think it was 150 something. So close. That's a little, something we'll take from the game as Stranger Danger. But Flint Tropics, again, showing that they're a team to be reckoned with in the rest of this season, the playoffs. Is there anything to take from this game?
I've been here 6 weeks, and I've never seen a team that hot and a team that ice cold in a game.
Well, I appreciate it, but
Agreed.
I mean, I agree, but the thing is, I have to put a little bit of respect on Flint Tropics, right? Because these guys are coming out here, and in these last 5 weeks, they've been playing like men possessed.
For good reason.
Right, and then that first week, I really criticized those guys about not showing like that same fight from the summertime, and we had a little clock issue in that game, but if they would have closed out the game like they were supposed to, that clock issue would have never played a factor. But since that point on, they've been playing great dominating basketball. And so Flint Tropics look like a team that is poised for the championship, honestly. And when I talk about no limit, and that's the only team that I can see that can match up evenly with them and play a really good basketball.
Yeah, you were
team.
saying that earlier. Hopefully we'll get that matchup. That'd be a fun semifinal.
They play last week of the season.
Oh, even better. We will definitely get that matchup. Speaking of the last week of the season, 2/3 done. 3 games left before the playoffs. Everybody makes the playoffs. Top 2 get a bye. So still some seeding for sure up for grabs, and a lot of good games left for the crew. I'm Joey. Thanks for watching the Week 6 post-game show. We'll see you on Monday for Week 7 in what is hopefully a not less eventful. It's a tough way to close this one out, but less drama. I like that, Greg. Thank you. So we will see you in Week 7. Thanks for watching.